It was 1964, and Paul McCartney, a young man in his prime, had already taken the world by storm with the Beatles. But one morning, he woke up with the melody of a song echoing in his head. The lyrics, the rhythm, the melody, it was all there. It felt like something he had heard before, but he hadn't written it. He hadn't even heard anything close to it before. The song was yesterday. McCartney had dreamed the entire thing. He was so stunned by it that, at first, he thought he might have subconsciously heard the tune somewhere and was copying it. So, for weeks, he asked everyone around him, "Have you heard this before?" No one had. It was completely original. And this wasn't the only dream that has shaped history. Writers, artists, and scientists alike have often reported getting their greatest ideas not in the waking world, but in their sleep. A dream that became the foundation of a breakthrough. That moment of pure inspiration. But why? Why do these visions and ideas come to us when we're unconscious? Why do we dream at all? I know what you're thinking. Dreaming seems so random, right? It's like a movie that plays with no script, no plot. Sometimes we remember them, sometimes we don't. But they all feel so real. And there's that feeling, right? That feeling when you wake up. And it's as if you've just stepped out of a world that was more vibrant, more intense, more alive than your waking life. It's like you were in a parallel universe. And now, you're back in your bed, feeling a little bit like you've lost something precious. But what if I told you that every time you dream, your brain is doing far more than just replaying random thoughts? What if, instead, your mind was creating a movie to help you understand yourself better, to heal, to reflect, and to problem solve in ways your conscious mind couldn't? The truth is, dreams are still one of the most fascinating mysteries of the human mind. For thousands of years, they've intrigued philosophers, psychologists, and scientists. But as much as we think we know, the questions remain. What are dreams trying to tell us? Why do we have them? And more intriguingly, what do they reveal about the world around us? Now, most people know the basic science. You fall asleep, you hit the deep stages of non-REM sleep, and then, suddenly, your eyes start moving underneath your eyelids. This is when the magic happens. Rapid eye movement, or REM sleep. It's when our dreams unfold. Our brains are incredibly active during REM, sometimes even more so than when we're awake. So, while we're in a deep, peaceful slumber, our brains are actually more active than ever. It's like having a whole second life while we rest. But what's going on in that mind of ours? Is it just random electrical impulses firing, or is there something deeper happening? Freud thought it was all about repressed desires. He believed that dreams were our brain's way of bringing unconscious thoughts to the surface, giving us a window into our deepest, hidden emotions. Think about it. Have you ever had a dream that just felt too real? A feeling that stayed with you even after you woke up, almost like a whisper from your subconscious, guiding you to confront something you didn't realize was there. But Freud's theory isn't the only one. Modern-day scientists have come up with different explanations that suggest dreams are more than just emotional release. Some say dreams are a sort of neural cleaning system, a way to process everything we've experienced during the day, from the mundane to the traumatic. They believe that dreams serve as emotional and cognitive filters, helping us make sense of our world, organize memories, and let go of unnecessary thoughts. Then there's the idea of dreams as a problem-solving tool, the sleep-on-it effect. Maybe you've had a situation where you wake up and, all of a sudden, you have a clear answer to a problem that had been nagging at you. Could it be that, while you're sleeping, your brain is quietly working through problems making connections you couldn't see before. But here's the twist. Sometimes dreams don't just reflect our current thoughts. They can carry something far more mysterious. Some believe that dreams are not just a reflection of the past. They might also be a glimpse into the future. The idea of premonition, dreams, visions of something that hasn't happened yet but feels inevitable, has been shared by many people. There are even documented cases where people have dreamed about events before they happened. Some of these stories are bizarre, like someone dreaming of a plane crash. And then, months later, that exact scenario unfolds. Could our brains really be tapping into something beyond the present moment? Could we be dreaming about possible futures? We'll dive deeper into these theories later, but for now, let's take a step back. The idea that we dream to solve problems or to gain insights into our emotions and experiences, this resonates with so many of us. Have you ever had a dream that suddenly gave you clarity on an issue you were dealing with? One that made you feel like your brain was sorting through life's clutter in real time. Maybe this dream world, this sleeping brain of ours, is far more powerful than we give it credit for. Maybe it's not just a passive state of rest. Maybe, just maybe, it's a dynamic space where our minds go to heal, to grow, and to discover things we don't even know we're seeking. Stay with me. We'll explore what happens in that space, and whether there's more to our dreams than meets the eye. But for now, think back to that moment when you woke up, and it felt like the dream you just had meant something. Was it just a random movie your brain put together? Or was it trying to tell you something deeper about your life? Let's dive in. Because when we start to unravel the mysteries of dreams, we may just uncover the most important truths about ourselves. You close your eyes. The world fades. The sounds around you grow distant, like waves slowly pulling away from shore. Your breathing deepens. Your limbs relax. It feels like nothing is happening, but inside your skull, a light show is just beginning. See? Most people think of sleep as some kind of pause button for the brain, like it powers down, goes idle, and waits to wake up. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your brain during sleep, it's on fire. It moves through a rich, rhythmic dance, a pattern that cycles again and again through the night. Each cycle has its own personality, its own purpose, and its own doorway to dreams. But the star of this nightly performance, REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the magical stage where most dreams unfold. But let's slow it down first. Let's understand the entire journey your mind takes after you drift off. The first stop is something called non-REM sleep, and it has multiple stages. The first stage, stage 1, is light and fleeting. It's the point where you're just starting to lose awareness. If someone called your name, you'd probably still hear it, but your brain is beginning to disconnect from the outside world. In stage 2, your body temperature drops, your heartbeat slows. This is where things get serious. You're no longer aware of your surroundings, but the most fascinating part, your brain starts to send out short bursts of activity called sleep spindles, little spikes of electrical action. We still don't know exactly what they do, but they seem to play a role in learning and memory. Like your brain is filing papers, archiving the day then. In stage 3, the deepest part of non-REM, your body begins its true physical restoration. Muscles repair, immune systems reboot, hormones are released. This is your body's maintenance phase. If you've ever woken up in the middle of stage 3, you know how disorienting it is, like being pulled out of cement, and then, suddenly, everything shifts. Like a curtain rising on a dream stage, you enter REM sleep. Your eyes start to move rapidly beneath your eyelids. but your muscles, they go completely still. It's called REM atonia, a kind of built-in paralysis to keep you from acting out your dreams. You're now locked into your mind, but your body is out of the equation. It's eerie, it's beautiful, it's evolution's way of protecting you from yourself. And now, the dreams begin. During REM, your brain lights up like Times Square, the same areas that fire up when you're awake. Your visual cortex, emotional centers, memory regions are buzzing. It's almost as if your brain is wide awake, inside a world you've created from scratch. Let's get specific. Your amygdala, the part of the brain that handles emotions like fear, desire, and excitement, goes into overdrive during REM. That's why dreams can feel so intense, even if they're about something small. A person glancing at you in a dream can feel like betrayal. A minor slip-up can feel like the end of the world. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and decision-making, becomes less active. That's why dreams don't always follow the rules. Time bends, places shift. You accept the strange, you don't question why your childhood dog is suddenly your math teacher. That part of your brain, the skeptic, the planner, is asleep. But here's the crazy part. Your brain is synthesizing information. During REM sleep, your mind is cross-wiring emotional experiences with memories, desires with stories, problems with strange symbols. It's like your subconscious is holding a film festival, playing thousands of fragments, trying to make meaning from chaos. Have you ever had a dream that made you feel more than just confusion? One that left you with a mood, a residue you carried all day? That's REM doing its work. And here's something even wilder. Brain scans of REM sleep are strikingly similar to brain scans of waking imagination. In both cases, the brain behaves as if the imagined world is real. That means your dream about falling off a building, your brain truly thought it was happening. The emotions, the stress, the fear, all authentic. Even if the scenario was made up. That also means that what happens in dreams can shape your waking brain. Think about that. Your dreams aren't just stories, they're experiences. And those experiences, even though imagined, can affect how you feel, think, and act when you wake up. Sleep scientists have even found that people who are deprived of REM sleep for long periods begin to show signs of mood swings, poor concentration, even hallucinations. It's like being cut off from your own inner world. You stop dreaming, and parts of your identity start to wither. And maybe that's the most human part of all this. Dreaming isn't some luxury of the brain, it's essential, it's hardwired, it's something evolution decided we needed and preserved for millions of years. Even animals dream. Your dog twitching in sleep, probably chasing something in its mind. Birds show REM patterns. Elephants too. Dreaming might be the universal language of consciousness, a way for all beings with a mind to process the world, safely, invisibly, each night. So next time you wake up and think, wow, that dream was weird, remember, that weirdness was your brain working, building, reflecting, healing. And if REM sleep is the theater of dreams, then your brain is both the screenwriter and the actor, crafting your inner world while the outer world sleeps on. And all of this beautiful chaos sets the stage for one of the most controversial minds in the world of dreams. Because now we meet Freud. Close your eyes and picture this. A dimly lit room in 1899 Vienna. The air is thick with cigar smoke. Books are stacked on every table. There's a man in a waistcoat, leaning back in a leather chair, scribbling furiously into a journal. His name? Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. The man who dared to say out loud what most people only dared to think in secret. Freud believed something bold, radical. Even dreams are not nonsense. They are messages. Not from gods or the future, but from within. To Freud, dreams were the royal road to the unconscious, the hidden self, the part of you that lives beneath your polite smile and everyday thoughts. It's where your fears, lusts, wounds, guilt, and childhood memories are all stored, waiting. He believed that in waking life, we wear masks, we act civilized, we follow rules, but when we dream, the mind lets go, the masks fall off. The raw, wild part of us finally gets to speak, but it doesn't speak directly. It speaks in symbols. Let's break that down. Freud proposed that most dreams contain 2 layers. Manifest content, the literal storyline, what you actually remember. You were on a train. A stranger gave you a flower. The train exploded. Latent content, the hidden meaning beneath that story. Maybe the train is your life. The stranger is your father. The explosion, your repressed anxiety about failing. Now, is that a stretch? Maybe, but Freud argued that the mind uses dreams to express emotions or desires that are too threatening to confront directly. So, it hides them in metaphor. Like your subconscious is writing poetry, not prose, for example. You dream about losing your teeth. To Freud, that might mean fear of aging or a sense of powerlessness. You dream you're naked in public. That could be vulnerability or shame. You dream of climbing stairs endlessly. That might be a sexual metaphor. Freud had a lot of those. In fact, Freud was obsessed with the idea that dreams reveal our repressed sexual and aggressive drives. And yes, people often joke about that today. Oh, everything's about sex with Freud. But remember, at the time, society was repressive, buttoned up, obsessed with propriety. Talking openly about desire or trauma was taboo. Freud cracked it open. He made it okay to ask, what am I really feeling? What am I hiding from myself? But here's where it gets even more interesting. Freud didn't just make wild guesses. He treated dreams like puzzles, and he developed a technique called free association. He'd ask his patients to describe every thought that came to mind when they recalled a dream. No censoring, no filtering. His belief was that the truth would eventually slip out between the lines. Sometimes it did. A man would talk about a dream of drowning and end up sobbing over childhood memories of feeling ignored. A woman would describe a staircase and find herself talking about her fear of intimacy. Freud saw dreams not as random, but as deeply personal myths. We write every night, and here's a question for you. Have you ever had a dream that felt symbolic? Maybe it wasn't about what happened, but about how it felt. Something that echoed a real part of your life. That nagging suspicion that this dream is trying to tell me something. That's Freud's influence, still rippling through time. Of course, not everyone agreed with him. As time went on, many psychologists, especially in the scientific era, criticized Freud's theories for lacking evidence. They said, where's the proof? Just because a dream feels symbolic doesn't mean it is. Isn't it just your brain firing randomly? We'll get to that debate in the next section, but let's pause for a moment. Because here's what Freud did get right. Maybe not in literal detail, but in spirit. Dreams matter. They reveal things about us that we don't always want to admit. They give form to the formless. In a way, Freud gave people permission to listen to themselves. Not just their surface thoughts, but the whispers beneath. He reminded us that what we bury deep inside never truly disappears. It waits and dreams are the doorway. And while some of Freud's ideas now seem outdated, his core belief that dreams have meaning is still alive today in therapy rooms, art studios, and even TikTok dream analysis videos. Whether you believe your dreams are psychological code, emotional weather reports, or just random static, one thing's clear: they reflect something, and often what they reflect is something we've tried very hard not to look at while awake. So tonight, when you dream, ask yourself, what is my mind trying to say that I haven't been willing to hear? But hold on, before you buy into Freud completely, we need to look at the counterattack. A wave of scientists who claimed dreams were meaningless noise, just the brain spitting out randomness while we rest, which brings us to a scientific rebellion. And one big question: are dreams just a glitch in the system? Let's rewind to the 1970s, a decade of disco, denim, and disruption, at the same time as Freud's legacy was still echoing through classrooms and therapists' couches. A new generation of scientists, lab coats on IG machines buzzing, started asking a very different question. What if dreams mean nothing at all? This wasn't rebellion just for the sake of it. This was science pushing back against psychology, data challenging drama. These researchers weren't trying to destroy the poetry of dreams. They were trying to understand what the brain is physically doing while we sleep. And what they found shook the entire dream world. Enter the activations synthesis hypothesis. 2. Harvard scientists J. Allen Hobson and Robert McCarley had been studying the sleeping brain. They looked at REM sleep, that dream-rich stage we talked about, and they noticed something strange. The brain stem, a very primitive part of the brain, sends random bursts of electrical activity into the higher brain while we dream. These bursts, they found, aren't shaped by meaning. They're chaotic, aimless, like flickers of static in a broken TV. So what happens next? Your higher brain, specifically your cerebral cortex, tries to make sense of the chaos. It takes these random sparks and begins weaving a story out of them. It's like being handed jigsaw pieces from different puzzles and trying to build one picture. And what do we call that strange, stitched together picture? A dream. That's what activation synthesis proposes. Dreams are your brain's attempt to interpret noise. No secret messages. No emotional truths. Just a storytelling machine trying to clean up a neurological mess. Think of it like this. You're sitting in a theater. The projector is broken. It flickers, flashes, plays disconnected clips. But your mind, it wants to make sense of what it sees. So it turns those clips into a plot. A dream, it's a theory that flipped the script. Suddenly, dreams weren't windows to the soul. They were just side effects of a busy brain. And honestly, that's kind of devastating. To imagine that your most personal, vivid, emotional dreams, the ones that made you wake up crying or inspired you to change your life, were just noise. It hurt, especially for people who believed dreams were sacred. Artists, therapists, even spiritual seekers. But science doesn't care about feelings. It cares about data, and the activation synthesis hypothesis had data. Brain scans showed REM activity consistent with random firings. Rats showed similar neural bursts when they slept. And the randomness of dreams, the way they jump from one place to another, shift logic, morph faces, all of that, it fit the theory. Still, there was a problem. If dreams were just random, then why did they so often line up with our emotions? Why do anxious people tend to have more nightmares? Why do we dream more intensely after emotional events like heartbreak or grief? Why do trauma survivors often have recurring dreams tied to what they've been through. This is where the backlash to the backlash begins, because even as Hobson and Mick Carley's theory gained popularity, others started saying, wait, maybe the bursts are random, but maybe the interpretation isn't. Let me explain. Imagine your brain is a painter. If you throw random colors at it, sure, it might create chaos. But if that painter is trained in memory, emotion, story, and fear, it's going to make something meaningful, even from randomness. That's where a new generation of neuroscientists started shifting the debate. They asked, okay, maybe the starting point is chaos, but what if dreams still serve a purpose? What if the brain doesn't just stitch random thoughts together? What if it selects and shapes them based on what we're going through? Think about it. When you're stressed, you dream of falling. When you're in love, you dream of floating. When you're grieving, your dreams become thick with memory. That's not randomness, that's pattern. One famous experiment showed that students who were learning a maze during the day were more likely to dream about mazes at night. And even more fascinating, the ones who dreamed about the maze performed better the next day. What does that tell us? Maybe dreams start as noise, but the brain uses that noise for something, to solve problems, to rehearse fears, to emotionally prepare, to explore possibilities we'd never dare to face while awake, and suddenly, the idea of a meaningless dream becomes incomplete. Today, most sleep scientists believe the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Yes, parts of our dreaming brain act chaotically, the firings are spontaneous. But our brain is not a passive observer, it's a meaning maker. It takes the chaos and says, what does this remind me of? What emotion is tied to this? How do I turn this into a story? So here's the takeaway. Maybe dreams aren't delivered messages from the soul. Maybe they're collaborations between biology and memory, between emotion and imagination. Maybe they're your brain's best attempt to reflect your inner world with whatever ingredients it has. And honestly, that's kind of beautiful. It means your dreams are still yours, even if the sparks that start them are random. It means your brain is always working on your behalf, trying to sort through the mess, trying to help you feel something, understand something, heal something. And it sets the stage for a deeper truth. Dreams might be emotional survival tools, not just memories, not just noise, but a kind of nightly therapy. In the next section, we'll see how dreams help us process grief, confront fear, and rewrite pain. And maybe, just maybe, become a little more whole. Let's begin with a feeling. Have you ever woken up after a dream and felt like something inside you shifted? You can't explain it. There were no words. Maybe you can't even remember the dream clearly. But the weight of something heavy has lifted. Or maybe you felt the opposite, like an old wound opened again, quietly, under your skin. That's not just imagination. That's your brain doing deep emotional work while you sleep. And this, right here, is where dreams show their true power. See, scientists used to think dreams were mostly cognitive. That is, mental, data sorting, memory filing, cleaning the hard drive. But what they've discovered more recently is that dreams don't just organize facts, they help us process feelings, especially the ones we avoid when we're awake. Let's start with trauma. A soldier returns home after war. Every night, he dreams of the same burning building. Sometimes it changes different faces, different sounds, but the fear is always the same. It's his brain's way of trying to reprocess a wound too deep for words. This is something psychologists now recognize as reconsolidation. the brain revisiting emotional memories and trying to soften their edges, not erase them, but reshape them. Your dreams take raw experience, pain, heartbreak, shock, and try to run it through the emotional system again, so your brain can feel safer, so it can say, I survived, I'm still here. But it's not just trauma. Imagine this. You have a fight with someone you love. The words echo in your chest as you fall asleep. That night, you dream of chasing them through a foggy street. You keep losing sight of them. You wake up sad, maybe even guilty. What just happened? Your brain took that tension and turned it into a symbolic story, not to punish you, but to let you feel it again in a different way. A way that lets you reflect, maybe even release something. According to Dr. Rosalind Cartwright, a sleep researcher who studied dreams for decades, dreams help us regulate mood, especially after intense emotional experiences. In other words, your dreams are your mind's overnight therapy session, and this is backed by neuroscience. The amygdala, which processes emotion, is highly active during REM sleep. Meanwhile, noradrenaline, a stress-related chemical, is suppressed. So your brain is re-experiencing emotional material, but without the full intensity of panic. It's like rewatching a painful movie, but this time, you're watching from a safe distance. This helps explain why people who are sleep-deprived tend to be more emotionally reactive. They haven't had a chance to do the overnight emotional housekeeping. Their brains are still carrying raw, unprocessed feelings. But dreams don't just heal, they edit. Think of memory like a messy film reel. Your brain stores clips, scenes, feelings, all out of order. During REM, your brain acts like an editor. It rewatches the footage, it decides what's worth keeping, what needs trimming, and what should be stored away more gently. This is why students who study before bed often retain material better after a good night's sleep. And it's why couples who go to bed angry might feel calmer in the morning, even if nothing's been said yet. Their brains have been sorting and soothing behind the scenes. Even more fascinating, your brain will prioritize emotionally significant memories. That means the fight you had, the heartbreak you felt, the joy of holding someone's hand. These things are more likely to appear in your dreams than what you had for lunch. It's not perfect. Dreams aren't always helpful. Sometimes they're confusing, frustrating, even painful. But over time, patterns form, themes return, emotions work themselves out, layer by layer. Think of it like this. Dreams are the mind's way of touching the scar without tearing it open, of visiting the moment without being trapped in it. They give you space to grieve, to hope, to imagine new endings to old stories, even if just for a few seconds, and then you wake up, feeling different, maybe better, maybe not, but something has shifted. Here's a story. A woman lost her father. In the weeks after his death, she dreamed of him every night. Not always, as he was sometimes younger, sometimes in strange places, but he was always there. After a month, the dreams stopped. She felt a strange kind of peace. I think he said goodbye, she told her therapist. Was that just her imagination? Or was it her brain giving her the moment her waking life couldn't? Science doesn't have a perfect answer, but dream researchers now suggest that our brains simulate conversations, scenarios, and emotional resolutions in dreams to help us move forward. We imagine new endings. We reframe old pain. We experience forgiveness, even if it never happens in waking life. And isn't that beautiful? Your mind, even while unconscious, is trying to help you heal, so the next time you dream about someone you lost, or revisit an old fear, or find yourself in a place you haven't been in years, ask yourself, what is my brain trying to help me understand? Because your dreams are not just strange movies, they're emotional mirrors, reflecting what you can't say, revealing what you need to feel, rewriting what you didn't get to finish. And this is where dreams begin to feel almost magical. Because if you can process pain in your dreams, what else can you do? Could you explore consciousness, control your actions, become aware that you're dreaming? In the next section, we meet the lucid dreamers, the ones who wake up inside the dream and start bending the rules of their own mind. Imagine this: you're standing on the edge of a cliff. The sky is violet. There's no wind. A giant clock is floating in the clouds. You step forward, and instead of falling, you begin to fly. And suddenly, you realize you're dreaming. That moment, that spark of awareness inside the dream, that's lucid dreaming. And for some people, it changes everything. Lucid dreaming isn't just some internet myth or spiritual fantasy. It's real, verified by science, documented in labs. And for the people who experience it, it's one of the most powerful states of consciousness a human being can enter. Because in lucid dreaming, the dreamer becomes aware that they're dreaming while still inside the dream. Let that sink in. You're asleep, but your conscious mind wakes up inside your unconscious world. You're still surrounded by dream logic, flying whales, melting doors, old friends who speak in riddles. But you know none of it is real, and yet it feels real. Here's the fascinating part. The moment you gain that awareness, the world around you often shifts. It becomes clearer, more vivid. Colors sharpen, sounds amplify. Some lucid dreamers describe it as stepping into high-definition reality. Others call it spiritual awakening or a second life. But scientifically, what's happening? Studies using IG and MRI scans have shown that during lucid dreams, certain areas of the brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, become partially reactivated. That's the same area responsible for self-awareness and decision-making. So, in a way, it's like your waking self is logging into your dream self, bridging to worlds that are normally separate. In one famous sleep study, scientists even trained lucid dreamers to move their eyes in a pre-agreed pattern while dreaming, which showed up on the REM monitors in real time. This proved that people could become conscious inside their dreams and communicate with the outside world. A kind of Morse code from the mind. But let's step back for a second. Why does lucid dreaming matter? Sure, it sounds cool, flying, bending time, talking to dream characters, but it goes deeper. For many lucid dreamers, these experiences become tools for self-exploration, fear, confrontation, emotional healing, creative breakthroughs. Let's break those down. 1. Self-exploration and lucid dreams. You can literally ask your subconscious questions. You can talk to your childhood self. You can walk through memories. You can meet dream characters and ask them, what do you represent? And sometimes, the answers are stunning. You realize that the strange man chasing you wasn't a threat. He was your anxiety, asking to be heard. Or the unfamiliar house wasn't random. It was your childhood home, just reimagined. Lucid dreaming gives you a mirror and the courage to look into it. 2. Fear, confrontation. Have you ever had a recurring nightmare? Being chased? Falling? What if, instead of waking up in sweat, you turned around and faced it? That's what many lucid dreamers do. In that moment of clarity, they stop running, they speak to the monster. And in doing so, they often discover it wasn't a monster at all. It was fear, trauma, an unresolved moment. And by facing it in the dream, something shifts in waking life to it's a kind of dream therapy, one that doesn't just talk about fear, but rewrites it. 3. Emotional healing. There are people who use lucid dreams to reconnect with those they've lost, not to claim their real visits, but to experience closure, to say the thing they never got to say, to feel, even for a few seconds, that comforting presence again. It may not be literal, but it's emotionally real, and for some, that's enough to spark healing. 4. Creative breakthroughs. Writers, inventors, artists. Some of them use lucid dreams like a canvas. They walk through imagined cities, compose music in mid-air, invent devices, visualize concepts, solve problems. In fact, Google engineer and lucid dreamer Thomas Peisel calls it the most advanced virtual reality imaginable. A sandbox with no limits, a space where imagination becomes landscape instantly. So now you're probably wondering, can I learn to lucid dream? The answer, yes, with time, practice, and intention. Here are 3 common techniques. Reality checks. Throughout your day ask, am I dreaming? Look at your hands. Read a sentence. Look away, then read it again. In dreams, reality behaves strangely, and this habit can follow you into the dream. Dream journaling. Write down your dreams every morning. The more you remember, the more familiar your dream world becomes. Patterns emerge. Awareness builds. Mnemonic induction. Mild. Before sleeping, repeat a phrase like, tonight, I will realize I'm dreaming. This sets intention and primes your brain. And then, wait. Try keep showing up. Most people don't become lucid dreamers overnight. It's a practice, like meditation or learning a new instrument. But when it happens, something opens inside you, a door between worlds. But with power comes caution. Some people get too caught up in lucid dreams. They start to prefer the dream world over the waking one. They chase control, perfection, escape. And while dreaming can be healing, it's still not a replacement for real life. Lucid dreams are not about escaping reality. They're about understanding it from a new angle. Because once you see what's possible inside your mind, you start to wonder, what else is possible in waking life, too? What if your fears aren't as big as you thought? What if your imagination is stronger than your doubt? What if the walls you face are softer than they appear? Lucid dreaming reminds us that we are co-creators of our inner world, and sometimes, if we're brave enough, our outer world too. But what happens when dreams turn dark, when they're not beautiful, but terrifying? When your brain stops healing and starts haunting? That's where we go next, into the world of nightmares and the monsters that might just be messages in disguise. You're running, your legs are heavy, the hallway stretches endlessly. Someone or something is chasing you, but you can't look back. Your heart is pounding, the air feels thick. You scream, but no sound comes out. And just when the fear is unbearable, you wake up, sweating, gasping. It takes you a second to remember where you are. It was just a dream, right? But here's the thing, your body didn't know that. Your brain didn't know that. For those few seconds, the fear was real. That's a nightmare. But why do they happen? Why does the sleeping brain, which is supposed to help us heal, create something so terrifying? Let's dive in. First, it's important to know this. Nightmares are not mistakes. They're not glitches in your sleep. They're part of a very ancient survival system. a warning signal designed to help us deal with threats, even imagined ones. Think about our ancestors. Thousands of years ago, danger was everywhere. Wild animals, rival tribes, deadly diseases. We couldn't afford to be careless. Our brains needed to prepare us to face fear. So, they did what they do best. They simulated danger while we slept. Evolutionary psychologists believe nightmares served as a kind of virtual training ground, a way to rehearse threats. You dream of being chased. That helps you prepare to run. You dream of hiding. That teaches you silence. It was practice without the cost of death. In that sense, nightmares are adaptive. They may have helped humans survive. Even today, studies show that people who experience nightmares often respond more quickly to fear in waking life. Their brains are tuned to threat detection in a strange way. The scary dreams might be keeping them sharp. But what about modern nightmares? The ones that don't involve wild animals or ambushes. Nightmares now are often tied to emotional trauma, grief, abuse, stress, loss, shame, and, in these cases, the nightmare isn't training you for survival. It's showing you what's unresolved. It's your subconscious saying, "Look at this, you haven't dealt with it yet." This is especially true for people with PTSD, stress disorder. For them, nightmares aren't symbolic. They're replays. The brain relives the trauma not to torture the person, but because it's still trying to process what happened. Dr. Matthew Walker, a leading sleep researcher, says that REM sleep allows us to re-experience painful events in a safer, neurochemically calm environment. But when the emotional wound is too deep, the brain can get stuck. The dream becomes a loop, playing the fear over and over. So what can we do? Can we escape our nightmares? Actually, some people have learned to face them. This is where lucid dreaming and dream rehearsal therapy come into play. Let's say you have a recurring nightmare, you're falling, or someone is chasing you. Therapists can guide patients to rewrite the ending of the nightmare while they're awake. Maybe, instead of running, you turn and ask the figure why they're chasing you. Or you grow wings and fly away. Then, over time, the brain incorporates that new version into the dream itself. It doesn't always work immediately, but it's a start. The key idea is this: fear loses power when it's faced, and many nightmares, when examined closely, are full of metaphor. The collapsing house, maybe your fear of failure, the stormy sea, your overwhelming emotions, the broken mirror, your shattered identity. They're stories, terrifying ones, but they mean something. Even children who dream of monsters under the bed aren't just afraid of shadows. They're afraid of the unknown, the dark, the change, the separation, and their brains, like ours, try to give form to what can't be said. But here's what's truly fascinating. Nightmares can be transformative. People who go through periods of intense emotional growth or spiritual awakening often report a surge in nightmares first. It's as if the old self, the one full of buried pain, has to rise to the surface before it can be released. And after those nightmares, clarity, peace, a new dream begins. So maybe nightmares are not enemies. Maybe they're messages dressed as monsters. They demand attention. They challenge us to wake up, both inside the dream and in our waking life. Because sometimes, the thing chasing us is not a stranger. It's a part of ourselves that wants to be heard. So what do we do when the dream turns dark? We listen, we learn, and maybe we turn around and say, "I see you. What are you trying to show me?" And with that, the nightmare often begins to fade. But not all dreams are nightmares. Some are strange, beautiful, mysterious, and sometimes they hold answers. What if I told you people have solved problems, invented machines, even predicted events, all through their dreams? That's where we go next. Have you ever woken up with a solution to a problem you couldn't solve all day? It's strange, right? You bang your head against it for hours, nothing, then you sleep, and the answer arrives, like a whisper at dawn. Some call it coincidence, others call it intuition. But what if it's something deeper? What if dreams can do more than just reflect the past or mirror emotion? What if they can solve problems, and maybe even glimpse the future? Let's start with the problem-solving power of dreams, because this part is backed by science, not just mysticism. Dreams and problem-solving. The brain's secret workshop. In 1865, a chemist named Friedrich Kekuel dreamed of a snake biting its own tail. It was a strange image, but when he woke up, something clicked. That dream gave him the structure of the benzene molecule, a ring, a scientific breakthrough. Born in sleep or cake, Dmitri Mendeleev, who claimed the idea for the periodic table, came to him in a dream. He saw elements fall into rows and columns, like puzzle pieces. He said, "I saw it in a dream, and I only had to write it down." There's even Elias Howe, who invented the sewing machine after dreaming of tribal warriors with spears that had holes near the tips, just like a sewing needle. And it's not just inventors. Musicians have heard entire melodies in their dreams. Writers have dreamt of plot twists. Gamers, yes, even gamers have found solutions to puzzles or strategies while asleep. So, what's happening here? Well, during REM sleep, the brain becomes a creative machine. It's no longer following the strict, logical pathways of the daytime mind. Instead, it's making new connections between ideas you never thought to link. It plays with information, rearranges it, stretches it, twists it, until something new emerges. This is why dreams can feel so surreal. Your brain is freed from the rules, and in that freedom, genius can happen. One study from Harvard even showed that people asked to solve puzzles were more successful after dreaming about the task. Even if the dream didn't include the exact answer, just thinking about the problem in a dream helped their brains reframe it. Dreams don't hand us answers like a cheat sheet, but they help us see from different angles, outside the narrow focus of waking thought. And sometimes that's all we need. Precognitive dreams, glimpses of the future. Now let's go deeper, stranger, into the controversial and, honestly, kind of chilling territory. Dreams that predict the future. Sounds like fiction, right? But consider this. Abraham Lincoln is said to have dreamed of a funeral in the White House just days before he was assassinated. The dream even included him asking, "Who is dead in the White House?" A soldier replied, "The president." Another example. Many people claimed to have dreamed of 9/11s before it happened. Vivid dreams of planes, buildings, fire, documented in journals, therapy sessions, and forums before the event. Coincidence? Maybe. Pattern recognition? Possibly. But these stories, across cultures and centuries, have something in common. They tap into a sense that the mind, during sleep, can perceive something beyond time, of course. Science is skeptical. There's no concrete evidence that dreams can truly predict the future, and most of the precognitive stories are noticed after the fact. They're vague, symbolic, easy to reinterpret once events unfold, and yet, there are people who dream of events, big and small, before they happen. Phone calls, accidents, reunions, and they know, not as a vague feeling, but as a certainty. Is it psychic ability? Is it pattern recognition? Is it our subconscious picking up subtle clues that our waking mind ignores? We don't know, but here's a more grounded possibility. The brain is constantly collecting data. Tiny signals, expressions, tones of voice, shifts in behavior, and maybe, in sleep, the brain puts those clues together and builds a prediction, like a detective solving a case, before realizing there was one. In that sense, dreams aren't magic, they're super intuition, a level of awareness that runs deeper than thought. Dreams as portals to possibility, whether you believe in precognition or not. One thing is clear: dreams expand what's possible. They allow us to explore futures we haven't chosen yet, to test outcomes, to feel what might be before it ever is. They show us not only what has happened, but what could. They help us prepare emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They open doors we didn't know were there, and in rare moments, they offer answers, not always in words, not always directly, but in feelings, images, insights that stay with us. So the next time you have a dream that feels meaningful, that seems to whisper something about tomorrow, don't brush it off. Write it down. Look at it later. Ask yourself, what might my mind be trying to prepare me for? Because, whether it's pure biology, deep pattern awareness, or something more mysterious, your dreams are working for you. And in the quiet hours, when the world is asleep, your mind may just be solving puzzles your heart hasn't yet found the words for. But dreams aren't just individual experiences. They're cultural, collective. In the next section, we'll travel through ancient civilizations from Egypt to China to the Mayans, and discover how humans have always believed one thing: dreams matter. Before science, before psychology, before we even had the word dream, people dreamed, and they didn't treat dreams as random or meaningless. They saw them as sacred. Messages, visions, signs from the divine. For ancient civilizations, dreaming wasn't just a strange side effect of sleep. It was a gateway to truth, to spirit, to prophecy. Dreams were part of life, and sometimes more real than life itself. So let's travel back, way back, and see how the people who walked this earth long before us understood the mystery of dreams. Egypt, dreams as divine messages. We begin in ancient Egypt. Over 3,000 years ago, the Egyptians believed that dreams were communications from the gods. They even had a term for it: messages of the night. Pharaohs kept dream interpreters in their courts, spiritual advisors who decoded dream symbols like scroll readers of the soul. Dreams weren't just private experiences. They were shared with priests, recorded on papyrus, and sometimes even carved into temple walls. There are dream books from that time, actual ancient manuals with symbols and meanings. For example, if you dreamed of drinking warm beer, it meant good things were coming. But if you dreamed of walking backward, bad omen. More than symbols, though dreams could dictate real decisions, including war, diplomacy, and rituals. It was believed that the gods sent warnings through dreams. Ignore them, and face disaster. Dreams were respected, even feared. They weren't figments of imagination. They were portals to the divine. Greece, temples of healing dreams. Now, we step into ancient Greece, where dreams weren't just messages. They were medicine. People traveled to sacred temples of Asclepius, the god of healing, just to dream. They would fast, pray, bathe in sacred waters, and then sleep inside the temple. This practice was called incubation, not in the medical sense, but in the spiritual one, during their sleep. It was believed that Asclepius would appear in their dreams, or send animals, usually snakes, to heal them. Upon waking, the dream was shared with temple priests, who would interpret the vision and offer a cure. This wasn't seen as superstition. It was real healing, a dream as prescription. And for many, it worked, whether through divine power or the subconscious mind, we may never know. What we do know is that dreams were seen as medicine from the soul. China's soul journeys and dream worlds. In ancient China, dreams weren't just stories. They were journeys of the soul. The Taoists believed the soul could leave the body during sleep and travel through different dimensions. This wasn't fantasy, it was a part of spiritual practice. Dreams were studied, respected, and sometimes feared. A good dream could mean harmony. A nightmare could mean the soul had wandered too far or encountered dark energy. Confucianism, meanwhile, took a more moral view. Dreams could reflect guilt, shame, or inner imbalance. But Taoism embraced the mystical. The Chinese didn't ask, "What does this dream mean?" They asked, "Where did my soul go?" And then there was Zhuangzi, the great Chinese philosopher who once dreamed he was a butterfly, fluttering carefree. But when he awoke, he asked the question that still echoes across time: was I Zhuangzi dreaming I was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming I was Zhuangzi? Even then they were wondering what's real and what's dream. Native American cultures, dream catchers, and spirit messages across the world. In North America, many indigenous tribes saw dreams as deeply spiritual. Among the Ojibwe people, dreams were central to life. Children were taught to respect them. Adults sought visions through fasting and solitude. And you've probably heard of dream catchers, hoops woven with thread, often with feathers hanging down. They weren't just decoration. They were tools, spiritual filters meant to catch bad dreams and let the good ones flow through. For many tribes, dreams were how you connected to your spirit guides, to your ancestors, to the great mystery. They could reveal your path, your purpose, your power. Some warriors would dream of their animal spirit, a bear, an eagle, a wolf, and carry that symbol with them always. Dreams weren't private. They were community stories, shared, honored, sometimes even danced. The Mayans' dreams and the fabric of time. Deep in the jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya civilization believed dreams were part of the woven timeline of life to them. Time wasn't linear, it was circular, sacred, alive, and dreams were like threads, connecting moments across lifetimes. The Maya had shamans who were trained in dream navigation. They believed dreams could predict natural disasters, offer cures, or help with planting and harvest. Even kings would consult dream readers before making decisions. They also practiced lucid dreaming using herbs, chants, and intention to awaken inside their dreams. To them, dreams weren't random. They were navigation tools for the spirit realm. So what does this all mean? It means that across time, space, and culture, people have always believed one thing: dreams matter. They're not noise. They're not nonsense. They're messages, journeys, visions, warnings, and gifts. Even now, in a world of smartphones, lab reports, and logic, we still wake up and wonder, what did that dream mean? Because deep down, we know, something inside us still believes, still listens, still watches the dream like a language we forgot how to speak. And maybe, just maybe, that ancient wisdom wasn't wrong. Maybe our ancestors knew something we're only beginning to rediscover. But now we come to the final question. What if it's all backward? What if this life, this waking reality is the illusion, and dreams are the truth? That's where we go next. Let me ask you something simple. Right now, are you awake? Don't rush to answer. Take a breath. Look around you. How do you really know, that this is reality? It sounds like a silly question, but it's one of the oldest, deepest mysteries we've ever tried to solve, and it begins not in science, but in a dream. Centuries ago, Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi told a story. He dreamed he was a butterfly. He flitted from flower to flower, joyful, effortless, free. When he awoke, he was Zhuangzi again, the man, the thinker. But he asked, was I Zhuangzi dreaming I was a butterfly? Or a butterfly dreaming I was Zhuangzi? That question has echoed through time, and now, in this final chapter, we ask it to with the weight of science, philosophy, and wonder behind us. What if waking life is not as real as we think? What if dreams aren't just illusions, but messages from something deeper? What is real, anyway? Let's break this down. We assume we're awake because we can touch, hear, smell, remember. But you do all of that in dreams, too. In dreams, you feel pain, you taste, you fall in love, you panic, you cry, your heart races, your mind believes, and yet it's all made by the brain. It feels real until you wake up. So what's to say you're not going to wake up from this life? One day, even modern neuroscience agrees. Your sense of reality is a simulation built inside your skull. Your eyes don't see, they transmit. Your ears don't hear, they convert. And your brain, it stitches all of this into what we call reality. But it's just one version. One lens, dreams are another lens. Different rules, yes, but still vivid, emotional, and personal. Some philosophers now wonder if all consciousness is dreamlike. Not because it's fake, but because it's constructed, built from memory, experience, fear, desire, interpretation, and that leads to the ultimate question. What if both waking and dreaming are just different rooms in the same house? Eastern wisdom and the dream of life, many ancient traditions have echoed this exact idea. In Hinduism, there's a concept called Maya, the idea that the material world is an illusion, a dream, not fake, but impermanent, ever-shifting, a veil over the deeper reality, consciousness itself. In Buddhism, waking life is often compared to a dream. We attach, we crave, we suffer, but it's all passing, all not quite real. Only awareness, the silent witness behind everything, is constant. They teach not to wake from dreams into real life, but to wake up inside life, like a lucid dreamer, to become aware of who we really are, beneath the masks, the stories, the fears. It's not about escaping. It's about realizing you're already in the dream, so shape it, see it, awaken inside it. The lucid life lets go full circle. Lucid dreaming is about becoming conscious while you sleep. But what if you became lucid in life? What if, right now, you paused and asked, am I living from habit or awareness? Am I reacting or creating? Am I awake, or just going through the motions? Because that's the twist, isn't it? We spend so much time trying to decode our dreams, but maybe our dreams are trying to decode us. They're not just reflections of our thoughts. They're calls to wake up, to face what we've buried, to follow what we've ignored, to feel what we've numbed, and maybe, just maybe, to remember who we were before the world told us who to be. So, why do we dream? We dream because we're human. Because we feel too much, think too much, carry too much. We dream to process, to remember, to heal, to relive, to release, to reimagine. We dream because somewhere deep inside, we know there's more to us than what we can see. Dreams are not mistakes. They're not noise. They are the other half of our story. And if we listen, they can guide us, not just in sleep, but in waking life. So tonight, when you lay your head down, don't wish the dreams away. Invite them, ask them to show you something, to teach you, to remind you. And when you wake up, really wake up, carry that magic with you. Because maybe this world is a dream, but that doesn't make it less real. It makes it more precious. So live it, like you're aware, like you're dreaming on purpose. If this journey through the sleeping mind opened something in you, a memory, a question, a spark, share it in the comments. What's the strangest, most beautiful, or scariest dream you've ever had? And if you want to explore more mysteries of the mind, the universe, and the self, subscribe, hit the bell. This is just the beginning. Because reality, it's more flexible than you think, and your dreams, they've been waiting for you to listen.